On today's Core of the Bible Daily Insight, we're going to look at how a true trust in God cares only for His glory and honor and not for what He can do for us. And this comes from a story in Daniel chapter 3, where it says this: "The God we worship can save us from you and your flaming furnace. But even if He doesn't, we still won't worship your gods and the gold statue you've set up." Now, for those who know their Bibles, the story is familiar. When the Hebrews are captured by the Babylonians, they're taken captive and the leading families are held in the king's palace. Now, the king has set up an idolatrous monument to himself and commanded that everyone in the area pay homage to it at a specific time or be killed by being thrown into a furnace. Well, three prominent Hebrews, being Torah observant, they know, of course, that God has commanded that idolatry is forbidden and honoring of any other gods is an abomination to Him. Well, their act of defiance enrages the king, and he does indeed throw them bound into the fiery furnace. But to everyone's amazement, they not only survive, but their bonds disappear, and they're visited by a mysterious angelic individual while in the midst of the flames. The king commands them to come out, and not even their clothes or their hair has been singed or burned. So in response to their miraculous survival, the king, who just previously wanted all people to worship him and his idolatrous monument, now commands everyone to honor the one true God of the Hebrews. In Daniel 3 it says, "They trusted their God and refused to obey my commands. Yes, they chose to die rather than to worship or serve any god except their own. And I won't allow people of any nation or race to say anything against their God." So while there are many fascinating facets to this story, the essence of what it conveys is both practical and challenging. True trust in God does not care for consequences. It only knows what's true and right and cannot be dissuaded once it's fully embraced. These men were not trusting God to save them. They were simply trusting God regardless of the outcome. This demonstrates that their trust was not in a hoped-for resolution. Their trust was in God alone, whatever was to come of it, even if death resulted. So if you're a believer, why are you trusting God? Are you trusting Him to save you from the flames of a fiery hell? What if, for His own purpose and glory, there was no guarantee that He would deliver you from that fate? Would you still trust in Him? What if, when you die, you cease to exist? Would you still trust in Him today? Well, a real trust in God would say yes. Real trust believes that God has revealed Himself to us as the all-powerful creator and sustainer of the universe, and He alone is sovereign. Because this would be accepted as fact, regardless of any consequence, nothing should be able to dissuade that trust. It has nothing to do with our personal condition or situation. Well, some might say, well, why believe in a God who doesn't give you what you want? Isn't that the purpose of a belief in God, to gain His favor so you have things go your way? Shouldn't we believe in Him so we don't go to hell, so we can spend eternity with Him? Well, those kinds of questions belie an undercurrent of self-centeredness masked with false humility that runs deep in this world and even within the halls of Christendom today. If the God of the Bible truly is God of all, then whatever He chooses to do with His creatures and His creation is really up to Him. He's demonstrated He won't ever go against His own word, so He's not arbitrarily creating chaos at His own whim. However, what specifically occurs in each person's life and how it fits into His overall purpose is not always clear to us. Sometimes deliverance glorifies Him most, and sometimes sacrifice. What if God had chosen to abandon those three men in the furnace? Perhaps He could have decided that their perishing in light of their undying trust in Him would have better served glorifying His name. 3 martyrs for Yahweh. It would still be a good story, and they would still be honored as heroes of the faith. Yet God chose their miraculous preservation as a way of honoring their faith and converting a pagan king. That served His purpose better. A case in point is, we're still talking about the impact of this incident thousands of years later. It's still serving His purpose to this day. Do you think those 3 men had stronger trust in God after that incident? Well, I'm sure they were relieved, but to the point that I'm attempting to convey here is that, quite honestly, I believe they would consider that a silly question. I believe they would say the point of their preservation was not to enhance their faith, but to enhance others' faith by demonstrating God's glory. As his glory was revealed, others came to know him. Is your salvation an unspoken condition of your trust in God? Then you're believing in God for what he can do, not for who he is. As believers, we need to remove ourselves from the center of our own faith universe and make sure that we are recognizing and trusting God simply for who he is, God. We need to let him be God and to unswervingly place our everything, our well-being, our lifestyle, our security into his hands and let him accomplish his purpose in his own way. The end result may not look like we expect it to, but it really shouldn't matter. We can be confident it will always be the outcome that best serves his purpose and provides him the most glory. We need to check where our trust is truly placed, in our salvation or in the God who can provide that salvation. Place your trust in God for who he is, not for what he can do for you. Well, I hope this insight was helpful for you today. As always, please visit coreofthebible.org for hundreds of other articles, other podcast episodes, and videos. Thanks so much for listening today. Take care.